Welcome to another week of the Google Plus platform Office Hours on-air edition. This week we're going to be talking a little bit about the new configuration options currently in Publisher Preview for the Google Plus badge, the second in the line of our social plugins for Google Plus. Before we dig into that, though, let's do some quick introductions, and I'll start. Hi, I'm Jenny Murphy. I'm a developer programs engineer here on the Google Plus platform developer relations team, which means I spend a lot of time getting kind of down and dirty in the code with you guys, whether it be in forums, in office hours like this, or in person at events. So let's Wanda.
Jonathan Beri here. I'm a developer advocate on Google Plus, also working with Jenny on developer relations. You may have seen me speaking at one of our many developer events in the GDD this past year, or upcoming ones like South by Southwest.
I'm Fraser Cain. I'm the publisher of Universe Today, and we've been using Google Plus quite a bit for doing our weekly space hangout, live recordings of Astronomy Cast, and our virtual star parties, where people can see images of telescopes all live streamed onto Google Plus.
Cool.
Among other things.
You're next, Alan.
I'm Allen Firstenberg. I'm a developer. Most of my development work with Google Plus has mostly been focused around the Hangout API. I've got a number of different apps that I'm working on there. I also do some app development work for Android.
And you're next, Abraham.
I'm Abraham Williams. I'm a front-end developer and developer community manager at a YC Combinator company called InboxQ. And I've actually recently been working on a Chrome extension that changes circles in the Google Plus UI to squares, just for a little bit of fun.
Very cool.
Nice.
So a big part of these Hangouts is we answer your questions live. But before we do that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the new exciting Google Plus badge features that are currently in Publisher Preview. So I'm going to fire up screen sharing. And you should be seeing momentarily the configurator for the Google Plus badge. So before I dig into the new features we've added, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Google Plus badge overall, just in case you're not familiar with it. The badge, as you can see it right here, this little white box, is a way of connecting your website to your Google Plus page. You insert this social plugin onto your website, and then it links back to your Google Plus page. It also provides a single-click way for people to add your Google Plus page to their circles and easily follow you. And it also encapsulates all the capabilities of the +1 button, which includes sharing and all that neat stuff. It has some other side benefits like Google Direct Connect, but that's kind of a topic that's beyond the scope of this introduction. But wait, there's more. In response to a lot of feedback we've gotten on the badge, we've added some new features, which are currently in Publisher Preview. So I'm going to scroll down and show you there's this new Advanced Options panel that will soon be available on the public configuration tool. And it exposes some neat things to make the badge fit better into your website. The first and simplest one is a dark layout. So click on the dark layout button, and the badge turns black. So on your themes that are darker and don't necessarily have a white background, the badge will fit in a lot better. And if this is one thing that's been preventing you from installing the badge, it's a good time to start investigating it. There's one other cool feature we've added. A lot of people said that the badge doesn't fit well on their website. So if you're the kind of person who stays up at night worrying about pixels, we have a feature for you. The default width is still 300, but we can go ahead and we can change the width. And the badge will live update above. And as you can see, the features of the badge will adjust to the size you specify. So if we go down to like 170 pixels, say we wanted to fit it in our little sidebar on our website, it shrinks down to a pretty small size. And all the other height constraint features that were available before are still available. So we can shrink the badge even further. So you can go anything from the large 300 by 200 pixel badge to the smaller 170 pixel wide badge, which just shows the following button, which should give your users a great experience. So as I mentioned, these features are currently in Publisher Preview, which is an open sign-up program if you'd like to start experimenting with the new features today. I'll be adding a link to the show notes when we're done. This is this form, which you can see I brought up now. And all you have to do is right there, and it will allow you to add your account to the preview group so that you'll be able to see the new features as we roll them out a few days ahead into the Publisher Preview group. But even if you're not interested in that, these features will be available very soon. Preview group tends to be pretty short, and we roll the features out pretty quickly after that. So that's the new stuff in the Google Plus badge, if you find it useful. And here we are again. You can see my dear lovely faces again. So now's the part where we start fielding your questions. So before we dig in any further, do you have any questions lined up, Jonathan? Jonathan's going to be reading the questions for us today, and then the rest of us will be fielding them.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Why don't you ask the guys in the Hangout?
Yeah, how about you guys? Have you guys been up to anything cool or have any questions about?
Well, one question that I noticed in the list was, how do you make the video size larger? And that's sort of always the first question that we get. And so there's sort of two ways to go about that. One is that you can, usually at this point, someone will have posted the raw video feed into the comments, and then you can get that, you can click that, and then you can press F11, and then you get full screen. The other thing you can do is there's an extension called Better Hangouts on Air, and if you install that, then you'll get a bunch of little buttons right underneath the video, and one of those, you can embed it, you can maximize it, and one of the things you can do is sort of pop the video out, and you can expand it. So if you're wondering how to do that, it's Better Hangouts on Air is the extension. And it is always the first question you get, is how do you maximize it.
So if that's something we should add as a built-in feature, perhaps.
I would it would save us all a lot of time, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else coming in?
Do you want to touch briefly on how the badge relates to Direct Connect and how it relates to the +1 button?
Sure. So let me pull up I won't pull up screen sharing. I'll just tell you about it. So the badge actually contains the +1 button, which provides some additional functionality that's kind of under the covers behind the scenes. When you install the badge on your site, it connects your Plus page to your website and allows us to coalesce the +1s, which means that the +1s that appear on the badge and your Google Plus page are actually the union of the, so it's the sum minus, only counting the overlap once, of all the +1s that happen on your web page, as well as those that happen on your Google Plus page, which is pretty cool. It also enables your website to be available for Google Direct Connect. So what is Google Direct Connect? Let's take a look. Let me fire up screen sharing for this. So you see a Google search page up there. Direct Connect, once we've discovered that you have the badge installed, we may, the algorithm will determine when it's time to set up Direct Connect. And once it has, you get these cool shortcuts available. So if we search for Plus Android, we can see that Android has the Android's Google Plus page is the first result, and it gets a neat little icon and stuff. The plus sign is the indicator that someone using Google Search is doing a Direct Connect query. When they click on that, some special behavior opens up. Rather than listing a search result, it brings up their Google Plus page immediately, and if I'm not following them already, it will actually prompt me to follow them. So this is a great way. You can just tell people, just search for Plus, my brand name, so for my example site, Plus Baking Disasters on Google, and it will immediately bring up your Google Plus page, which is pretty cool. It's a great way to drive people to that site.
So we got a question. Can I have a badge for my Google Plus profile, or does it only work on pages?
That's a great question. Right now, the badge only works on Google Plus pages, which are intended for non-person entities in general, organizations, businesses, or celebrities potentially, athletes. which are people, but they're special because their pages are often managed by multiple people. But the badge does not currently work for profile pages. But we've heard this a lot, and we're trying to think of how we want to accomplish this.
I've got one question about this. Is there any connection between the badges and trying to sort of make the rel equals author tag more connected? You know, the rel equals author for for identity on articles that you write, to try and connect that all together with your Google Plus profile. Right now, it's kind of hard to implement on websites.
So the Google Plus badge actually exposes a new kind of semantic markup for establishing relationships. And it's the rel equals publisher element. So you do like a rel equals publisher, a link rel equals publisher, and that's actually how we determine that your website is connected to your Google Plus page. In terms of authorship itself, although the story is still kind of manifesting itself, the authorship is definitely a big part of the story.
Timur asked a question on Fraser's reshare of this. He asks, can the direct connect be enabled and disabled on command?
So the direct connect is kind of being done on the back end, where we're crawling. It's being done in the search engine. So it's being done asynchronously. For this reason, you can't easily turn it on or off at this time. What you can do is you can set up the elements that will allow us to know that you want direct connect, which is the rel equals publisher element, installing the Google badge. And then you can remove those elements and tell us that you're no longer interested. But it's going to take some time for that stuff to adjust, just like a lot of stuff that impacts search index.
Cool.
But that's a great question.
So we had one simple question. Can you link to the documentation for the plugins badge? And so I added that link to the comments. All of our documentation is at developers.google.com/the+symbol, and then you can find the different areas. We broke it down to plugins, Hangouts, APIs, and general documentation.
And we'll also be including all of these links in the show notes. So if there's anything else you'd like us to link, definitely comment, and we'll be sure to add it.
I don't know if you guys noticed, Felicia Day and Veronica Belmont broke Google Plus 2 days ago with their on air, Hangout on air. They hit the 500 comment maximum and within about 4 minutes.
Nice.
So, you know, I can definitely see that as more and more celebrities come on board and start to do more of these Hangouts on air, that they passed up to 500 literally within, I don't know, like 20 minutes. It didn't take them long.
Right. That's a good point. Us personally, and doing the platform office hours, we're kind of investigating new ways to have larger communities be able to ask questions and have those bubble up. Although the comment stream is very simple and accessible, it has some limitations, like the one you described of having a 500 comment limit on a post. So in addition to expanding the capabilities of the platform, we're always looking for other ways of making this stuff easier. So.
Yeah. Siegfried asked, can you elaborate more on the privacy policy that's needed when you request more quota?
The privacy policy that's needed when you request more quota. That's a good question.
So the short answer is we're not lawyers, and we can't provide you legal advice around the privacy policy. But what we look for is a clear expression of user data in a privacy policy. So, for example, how you store the data, how you access the data, how you redistribute that data, as long as this echo is killing me, as long as you include that in the privacy policy and users can discover that, we consider that a good privacy policy. In terms of the legal pieces of a privacy policy, you'll have to investigate that within the country that you live in and the country you wish to operate the website. That was short.
So hopefully that's pretty straightforward. But we can't offer you any specific advice.
And if I'm not hinting, if I'm not expressing it well enough, there's not a clear-cut privacy policy. We just want transparency. Okay, so we have a few more questions from Oleg. Does the plus name in search look at the actual page name, or how does it determine what to pull up? Let's say there are 10 pages with Android 1, Android 2, Android 3, and there are badges linked to them from various places. So when someone searches for plus Android, how does it determine which plus page to pull up?
That's a great question. This is something that's a little bit fuzzy because it's determined algorithmically, but in general, it's the title of the business page, a plus page. So those are so if you have that Android page, it's going to be a plus Android, especially if you're the official Android page out there.
Cool. This one's from Jeffrey. Will putting a badge on a business page help to verify the business?
It certainly can't hurt.
And the business verification process is part of the Geo team, and there's a whole series of policies of how to get your business verified. If you go to any one of the business pages, there's a link, say, are you the owner? And then you follow that process. They're not directly related, but it just adds more credibility to your business if you have a plus page.
Yeah.
Greg prefaced his question as not a badge question, but definitely a Hangouts. I sell GApps for biz, and I have clients ask when Hangouts on Air, especially with the recording feature, will be available in general distribution.
This is with many kind of future-looking things. This is something it's a little difficult for us to talk about. Things are always changing. We're always focusing on what's most important to our users, and for this reason, the release dates are not really something we talk about because we don't know them ourselves. Hangouts on Air and wider distribution is one of these examples, an example of this. So we can't tell you when it'll be available right now. It's still really experimental. There's still a lot of kinks to work out, and we're still working with our small set of testers to make sure it's a really accessible, great experience for everyone before we open it up wider.
Yeah, I think that. Next question from Robert is, how do you limit the width of a small badge?
Of a small badge? So currently production public version, you can't limit the width of the badge. You just fix it 300, which is why we've added these new features. So I'm going to pop up screen sharing again. But in the version that's currently a publisher preview, which will be out very soon, the width of the small versus the large badge is the same configuration option. So one width element, specifically if you scroll down to the code, we can see that there's actually a width attribute added to the G+ tag, which, let me zoom in, so you can actually see the code. So down here in the little code window on the configuration tool, you can see that there's a width specified. Specifying that width attribute is the same whether you're using a small or large badge. In addition to the width attribute being available, we've actually added a height attribute, which allows you to specify the normal height and the small badge height explicitly in pixel size. So it should be a little bit more straightforward and open us up to more possibilities in the future.
Cool. So Steven asks, can you take us through the simplest way to put the badge on our website?
Simplest way to put the badge on your website? Sure, I can definitely do that. But I'm going to have to fire up an editor real quick. Actually,
I'd also point out while she is that a lot, if you're doing something like a WordPress site, a lot of plugins are becoming available that will add the badge for you. So there's not as much that you'll need to do. And it suddenly occurred to me that I haven't checked yet if Blogger has gotten a plugin to do so, and I'm looking now.
Cool. So I don't have the setup to quickly do a live demo, but I can show you the kind of code walkthrough process. I'm going to fire up screen sharing again. Go back to our window and zoom out. So let's walk through setting up the badge. I'm going to reload this configuration tool, which will clear out all of the options, and walk you through the steps to use it. The first step is to go to the configuration tool, which is found on developers.google.com/plus. You go into the left side menu, and you see a little configuration tool option in the menu, and you click on it, and it will bring you to this configuration tool. there's one manual step that you're going to have to do to enable the configuration tool, which is get the ID of your Google Plus page. So we're going to go over to the other tab, and we're going to go to my wonderful Google Plus page for Faking Disasters, a fictional business I created for these demos. And to get the Google Plus page identifier, you go up to the URL, and you'll see a number in there. That number is the ID of your Google Plus page. So we're going to copy that. We're going to go over into the configuration tool and paste it in. The badge will automatically show up in the preview. The next step is to format the badge using these tools to make it look how you want, the correct language. If you're experimenting with the preview for version of the badge, maybe change the width. So until you end up with a badge that's the configuration that you want. And while we've been making all of these changes to the badge within the tool, we can scroll down, and this code has been updating in real time. It's been off the screen, so you weren't able to see it. And in this code, we see a few different things. The first thing we see is a link element with a rel publisher attribute. You can get in a little further. A rel publisher attribute and the URL of our Google Plus page. This is the feature that tells crawlers that hit your web page about your Google Plus page and that you're the owner of that page. This is how the Direct Connect feature is enabled. This is also how the coalescing of the +1 count is identified and registered. The next element in this little snippet of code is some JavaScript code. It actually starts over here, but this is the meat of it. And this element initializes the JavaScript that knows how to render the badge, the Google Plus badge, as well as the +1 button. It's actually the same JavaScript. So, and this also specifies some of our configuration, like the English language, some of the stuff that's kind of global throughout the page. These two elements we'll grab, and just as it's described in this comment up here, we'll copy them and go over to our fictional web page, which is just in apasty.org right now. And we just stick these things right into the head of our HTML document. So the link will, as I said before, allow Google to identify that link between your Plus page and your web page. And this big chunk of JavaScript will asynchronously load the JavaScript that's required to render the badge in such a way that it doesn't interfere with the loading of the rest of your page. So it won't slow anything down. But there's one more step. If we go back to the configuration tool, we notice there's one more chunk of stuff. There's the code that's actually the badge itself. So we place this tag, just as it's described, wherever we want that badge to render. So let's copy it and go back to our pasty. And there's, let's pretend there's content on this web page. This web page is very Spartan right now. It contains nothing at all. But let's say we wanted to put it below our title. Oops. And before our content. So when we render this page, it will put the Google Plus badge below the title, and above that, content is awesome content. And that's it. That's how easy it is to set up the badge on your page. And if you'd like to go a little further, let me scroll up to this way zoomed out web page. There's actually documentation that describes a whole bunch of more configuration options and describes what all of these things do in detail. I'm not going to go through all of them here, but we'll link to them in the show notes. And this shows you all the different ways that you can configure the badge and how you can manually set it up. For example, if you want to change the way it loads, or if you have to integrate it differently depending on how your website renders. Like, if you have to put certain things in different templates. And it also shows you some cool tricks. So we'll be linking to those in the show notes. And that's how easy it is to install the badge on your web page.
Cool. Siegfried has a follow-up question regarding the privacy policy, which I'm super excited because I actually want to clarify this a little bit. Are there any needs to offer delete options if I save public information about the author actor in the database? There's a few places to learn about our policies and our terms of service. And I encourage everybody who's building anything with the API, even if you're just using the badge, to review, at the very least, the policy. So to find the top-level policy stuff, it's at /plus/policies on our developer site. Jenny, if you just pull those up. So
Sure, I'll screen share.
Because it's worth noting. If you look at this, it doesn't look like your typical legal document. A lot of it's about the spirit of how we want users to be treated with our APIs. The first 3 bullet points are the most important. Put the user first, be transparent, and respect user data. And that's the general theme of the rest of the policies and the terms of service too. And it's a more digestible way. You can read it probably by the time I'm done talking. There's a big section on personal information from the Google Plus APIs, and specifically to Sigrid's question about deletion, point 3, deletion rules. We ask that, as a developer, you give a user a reasonably convenient way to delete any of their personal data. Does that have to be a true export and deletion like we offer with Takeout? No, that could be when they disassociate their account, you delete it. Or some other way that they know that their content's being protected and wiped from your system. To go into the more legalese, heavier definition of it, we have a Google Plus Platform's Terms of Service, which is spartan in comparison to our general API Terms of Service. And that actually goes into more detail about our views of data portability and how we generally expect all developers who use Google Platform to build upon to have a concept of data portability. What that means for your privacy policy, to go back to the original question, doesn't have to be explicitly expressed in that policy. It would be great if you just tell the users what you're doing with their data and what happens when they disassociate, how they delete that. But in general, you should be taking care of that on the user's behalf, right? And it's a great place to say that in the privacy policy. Another place, if you're interested in data portability, is to actually have a data portability policy. And I believe dataportability.org has guidelines of how to express data portability as well. Awesome question. Obviously one that I'm passionate about. Next question. Can I use the API to write to an activity or a chat pane? It looks like it's read-only at the moment. Also, is the chat room stored permanently after the Hangout ends? It seems like 3 questions.
Mm-hmm. So the first question, it sounds like you've actually done your homework and you've researched the API a little bit. The RESTful web services that make up the core of our API and the Hangout apps, neither of them expose the ability to create activities in the stream, nor to interact with the chat window on a Hangout. The only way to create activities in the stream right now is with the social plugins, the third component of our platform, the brand badge, as well as the +1 button. The chats themselves in the Hangouts are not persisted. So it's in response to your third question.
Yeah, in general, you got to make sure that you don't post anything into that chat that you want to keep.
When would the Hangout on Air or just API be available for embedding on a third-party site, if ever? So in terms of the Hangout on Air, that's actually an easy question. It's a YouTube stream, and if you've noticed, if you've seen some of the more public Hangout on Airs, like a few weekends ago, there's an artist doing body art, painting. It's just a YouTube live stream embed, so you can actually grab the embed widget and stick it on any page you want. If you notice, some people included the YouTube link, the full screen link. The extension that was mentioned earlier also does that same thing, so you can embed that. In terms of the Hangout themselves, currently no plans, and the general future release type of things that we don't comment on. We've heard ideas around that, and we're looking into it, but no timeline or any promises around that.
Yeah, sorry, that's one of the things that we're doing. It's relatively straightforward, so you can actually we've got where we're live streaming our astronomy hangouts. We've actually got a page that you can go to that pulls. As soon as we start our event, we have a little publisher section, and we can put the embed code in there and then it can stream from that location. We pull the comments from Google Plus as well as Twitter at the same time. And so it's sort of like a single location you can go and just kind of wait, and then when the show starts, then the screen updates. So it's definitely possible. We've done it.
Yeah, that's a very cool feature.
This one's a feature request from Oleg. Since we're talking about pages, one feature I like to see getting added is a Google Calendar link or embed on business pages as a standard feature. There's actually 2 features, I think. But cool.
Yeah, we like those ideas. I've heard some of them before, and I think they're, or one of them, I've heard the events link. I think that's a really cool idea. We'll relay it.
I think something that a number of people have been requesting is a transparent background on the badge.
So there are some technical reasons that we decided to have a white and a black background for now, is that the badge is actually rendering in a single iframe. And iframes are opaque. So there's some challenges there, but it's definitely feedback we've heard, and we're considering it, and we're looking for ways to make sure that the badge fits well into everyone's website. So keep that feedback coming.
Rob asked, is there any way to incorporate the chat room function for those watching Hangout instead of the current stream comment? I know that you can have a chat within a Hangout, and you can have participants, but not just the viewers.
This is a very, very often requested feature. If you speak to the Hangout people, and the Hangout people have their own chat tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon, and ask them, they will tell you the same thing. Everyone's requesting it. They don't have a date yet for when this will be in place.
Thank you very much, Alan. Yeah, that sums it up pretty well. We're definitely investigating a lot of ways that we can have people who are watching the Hangout on air interact with the rest of the Hangout. Chats are some ideas. There's a lot of different ideas we're kicking around. We just want to make sure that whatever we launch works really well for everyone, and everyone has a really great experience, whether they be doing a Hangout on air with a smaller audience or an enormous audience where they hit that 500 comment limit on the post within 10 minutes. So we're working on stuff. Hang tight.
As you can see, we're experimenting with different ways to run our Hangouts on air, and we might decide that the comment system works for us, but somebody else might find another way, and then the product might converge on a different one. So it's cool to experiment around how you use Google+, and a lot of the time that becomes the next feature in Google+. So definitely good if you can submit that feedback and join the office hours tomorrow.
And if you've done any interesting experiments, or anyone out there, if you've come up with really cool solutions to this challenge, please let us know. Or the Hangout office hours also. We'd like to hear it. We know that a lot of the greatest ideas come from the community.
So CJ asks, what happens in the event the user browses my web page, observes the badge, but is not signed into his or her Google account?
So if the visitor is not signed into their Google account, they will see a badge that is rendered as if they have not added them to their circle, because we don't know who they are. So it has the Add to Circle button up there, which I can actually probably show you. Let me get the configuration tool back up. I'll show you what it looks like. So it's going to be a very standard badge. So start screen sharing again. So it's going to look, if they're not signed in, it's going to look a lot like this. It'll have the Add to Circles option up there. It'll have the +1 button. Neither of them will be toggled because we don't know who that user is because they're not signed in. The annotation below, next to the +1 button, probably contain more general information and less personal specific information. When they click on either of the buttons to trigger one of these user-specific events, we're going to open up a window that will allow them to sign in so they can complete that action. If they don't have a Google Plus account and they've signed in, then we'll take them through the flow to allow them to sign up for a Google Plus account pretty quickly so that they can get back to your web page and do whatever they were doing there.
Good question. Jari asks, Google Plus API question. Right time. It is not yet possible to get all public posts from a Google Plus user with the Google Plus API. There is some kind of limit, around 460 posts or something, and then he links to something, to some service I think he builds. Do you know if there's plans to remove this limit?
This limit sounds like a pretty big challenge. This is the first I've heard of it. You should be able to keep paging through the public posts. This is something I would personally consider a bug. I'm going to dig into it and figure out what's going on. Thanks to the link. I'll follow up, and we'll see if we can get this fixed. Because you should be able to keep going back to those public posts, and you should be able to access everything.
There used to be a 250 post limit, but that has been gone for a couple of months now. I am wondering if this is related to a limit on the number of API calls within a certain time frame. And I mean, I don't know the circumstances of his question, but that would be my first debugging question.
It is true. If you're hammering through the APIs really quickly, you're probably going to hit some query per second limit for your IP or something like that. But if you hit that, you should be getting a pretty clear message back in the response body telling you exactly what you're doing wrong. If the tokens that you get back, the paging tokens, should persist for quite a while. So you should definitely be able to page through all of the results. You may have to throttle yourself if you're going through an enormous number, but 460 is only like 4.5 pages at maximum page size. So this shouldn't be too challenging. We'll follow up with you on this one.
Gregory just has a bug report on Firefox 9, so I guess we'll follow up with that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Siegfried has a separate question. It says, the search feature in the API is getting better.
Yay.
Thanks, awesome. And finding more relevant and up-to-date activities. Will this get better over time, or how can we measure how good the results are?
This is something we're constantly doing. We like search here, as you might expect. So we're constantly working to improve the search results that you're seeing from the API as well as from the web interface. And we're going to be continually improving that, and we're doing a lot of measurements ourselves to see how well we're doing. And this is kind of the stuff we don't really talk about too much. So I can't go into any details. But this is another great question. We're definitely working to improve the search results, and we're really glad that you're noticing that they're getting better. That means we're on the right track.
And in terms of how can you measure how good the results are, if you're finding what you're searching? No, in all seriousness, definitely something we actively work on, not just the API team, but it's more of the product team and the search team that's part of Google+. And we're adding more data points, and we're improving our algorithms, and for sure it's going to get better over time. That's one thing I can guarantee about. Timur asks, where can I find the notes?
Where can you find the notes? The official location, the official write-up, is in the Google+ platform discussion forum. Fortunately, we're going to be linking to that from all over the place. So if you can find this post that you've commented on just now, the video recording, once it's been edited in YouTube, or any other posts I follow up about these office hours, or the event on Google Developers, all these are going to link to the canonical location where all the show notes and all those links are held. So pretty much anywhere, even the post you're looking at right now. Great question, though.
So Juice asks, I have a Rallycos publisher link set up and the profile about page links back, but autocomplete doesn't link to it. I assume by autocomplete you mean the direct connect.
Yeah, the + direct connect autocomplete. So that's one of those things that happens asynchronously. There's no way that you can explicitly hit a button and turn it on right now. But by adding that rel publisher, you're telling us that you want to be involved in the direct connect program. So when the time comes around, when the algorithm has decided it's a good time, we're going to add that plus autocomplete thing.
He only has any other way to verify that he's done everything correct?
There is not any specific way. You can use the rich snippet tool. Yeah, the rich snippet tool will tell you if your markup is correctly well-formed, and that's going to be a good indication that everything is set up well. But other than that, all you can kind of do is kind of hang out and wait for it to get enabled.
So Robert asks, when will the width and height be available in the developer config tool? Is yours different from mine now?
So mine is a little different from yours, and I'm actually going to show you how you can play with it right away. So going back to that same window I've been showing you for a lot of the Hangout, there is a web page that allows you to sign up for the platform preview. The platform preview gives you slightly early access for your account to see what some of our future social plugins will look like. And the reason we have this group in existence is so that you, as a webmaster, can adjust your website for the new features of the badge. So you can take advantage of new features of the badge, the +1 button, any of our other social plugins the moment they're available. It's pretty easy to join this group. It's linked from the documentation for the brand badge right now. All you have to do when you get on this page, which I'll also include in the show notes, is just go here and put in your email address. And when you put in your email address and sign up, you'll be added to the group. Whenever we have a new feature, like the new configuration tool with the width and height, entering Publisher Preview, or Platform Previews, rather, we will send you a notification so that you know to go look at it and play with it. And it's just that simple.
Cool. Lisa asks, any plans for integration of any stream access and publishing with third-party dashboards like HootSuite?
It's a great question. We're actually experimenting with that stuff right now in a very limited scope. And we're not really sure exactly how that's going to expand yet. It's still in the early stages. But it's definitely something we're actively working on. And if you dig around, if you Google around, you'll see that HootSuite's actually talked about our partnership already a little bit.
Yes. I believe there's even a sign-up page on the HootSuite site to allow you to request access. So you can contact them for more information about that.
Yep.
Let's see. There's a lot of requests for IRC chat and different ways to get chats in Hangouts.
We actually have an IRC channel, but I don't think any of us are in there right now. But if you guys would like to chat about it while we're doing the Hangouts on air or anything else, we are on Freenode at Google +platform. And we'll be adding, we're still in the early stages. We're still experimenting with this as a support channel, but it sounds like people are interested. So go check it out, and we'll be linking to it from our documentation in the near future. So it'll be easier for you to find. But I hang out in there a lot, so you can always find me there, except right now, because I'm busy for some reason.
So we're hitting about the edge of our time frame. Let's see, there's some good comments and suggestions of how to fix the iframe transparency issue, some questions about what's drawn behind us. Those are actually Google Plus dinosaurs. Not what Oleg suggests. Timing, when are Google Plus office hours? Same time. We have office hours every week at the same time. Same bad channel. You can always find us in our streams posting about it, whoever gets to it first.
I'll also post messages in the discussion group a few days ahead of time, and there will be an event on the Google Developers event list that you can use to RSVP, and we update those as news develops on them. But they're always at the same time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, which is, during the workday for most of North America and the Americas, and in the evening and early night for most of our European friends, or later night, I guess, for a lot of you.
Let's see if there's one more question.
Before we wrap up, yeah.
I guess Nicholas's question is the most important. Can you work more and faster?
We really love our jobs, so we work more and fast a lot. Like, it's almost fast motion here sometimes.
And there's a certain limit to how much more you can do, because it's only 24 hours in a single day. The best we can suggest is if you just keep the feedback coming, then we can be more efficient with those 24 hours.
Yeah, we always love the feedback.
And on that note, I think that ends this week's office hours.
Does anyone else in the Hangout have any
final words?
I had one quick comment, which was, did you guys get a chance to catch President Obama's Hangout?
Of course.
A couple of days ago?
Indeed. Yeah.
And it was a pretty cool demonstration of what Hangouts could look like and should look like, I think. And in many cases, that was, it was awesome, right? Because you could click, you could maximize. It was high def. The audio sounded good. They were able to put clearly able to bring in like high-grade cameras into the stream. All of the pieces were there. So if that's the technology roadmap, I think all of us working in this space can definitely agree that that's where it ought to go, because that was amazing.
Fraser, have you seen Peter McDermott's interviews with some of the participants of them?
Yeah.
I encourage anybody who hasn't to go find those interviews, because some of them are very interesting, very revealing, and not just to see what the participants thought of it, but what they think of Google Plus and Hangouts now.
Yeah, I mean, in many cases they had never heard of Google Plus or didn't really understand the Hangouts, but they were brought up to speed and pretty transformative in going through the process. But I think that as the way the Hangout ran and the way it was as a communication and publishing channel was pretty great. And so if you can sort of push back to achieve that, please, we want that, exactly that.
I think we all want that, and we're definitely working towards making this stuff as good as we can, and there's definitely some stuff we use as kind of a model for that. Cool. So if there's anything else, I think we're going to call it a day.
I actually have a quick question.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know the current status of the so you can put the rel author link to your Google Plus profile on like your blog, and then when those blog posts show up in search results, it'll embed your profile image. Are you aware of the status of that?
That's the authorship feature, and that is available now. So you can start doing that now. You can use tools like that rich snippet testing tool to validate that your markup is correctly configured. And in search results, a lot of my search results, I see stuff that I've written showing up with my profile picture and links to information about me there. So it's already there.
Is it automatic? Last I checked, there was like a submission form you had to fill out to get in. So is it all automatic now, or?
There is a submission form that will help us prioritize, but it's open right now. We're actively crawling and looking for that information and using it to create the best search results we can.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very, very welcome, of course. All right, unless there's anything else, I think we're going to call it a day. Thanks to everyone out there, everyone who joined us in the Hangout, and everyone out on Google Plus who asked some wonderful questions. And we will be seeing you next week.
And don't forget, if you have any questions you didn't get a chance to answer, you can ask it in our forums, which is linked to our developer site, as well as our Google Plus profiles.
Yep. So feel free to ping us anytime. Thanks again. Bye, everybody.
Yeah.